Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. We are back with a roster update video, and this one is going to be transitioning us into a new phase of roster building because we've just finished off a lot of major projects, which means this topic list that we've been using as a general structure, kind of hoping to build this to be a little bit more evergreen. It doesn't completely apply to this video, but we will use it as a general structure. The major unlocks is really going to be gearing related to the major unlocks from the past couple of weeks. Galactic Legend progress. We're going to be looking forward to the next GL, which we talked a little bit in the last video, but also we're going to be looking at just major projects, which are going to be addressing some of the weaknesses, and that will also fill in and tie into some ships and pilots. But what we're really going to be doing here is we're going to be transitioning from a phase of spending our war chest into a phase of hoarding towards a lot of these next projects that we slowly work towards. The major piece of gearing is going to be Leia. I like to do a little bit of Gear 11 testing just to familiarize myself. We did that for a week, and she's usable. Definitely usable, but she's not going to do any of the higher level things. She dies pretty easy at this level, and we've got data crowns we want to take advantage of before they go away, and to strengthen our Grand Arena performances, which we really need to do after last week. But in terms of the Journey Guide performance, Gear 11 is perfectly sufficient for working on these ultimate materials. That was no issue. The only tough tier here is tier 2, which I think that's kind of spread out into the community by now. But before we place that gear onto Leia, I want to give an overview of how I am planning and strategizing my gear hoard and my gear spend, because the last time I showed this spreadsheet, most of this was in gray, which indicated that we were in surplus. Now we see a whole lot of other colors, which is showing that we have a deficit from gear because we have planned out for the next several months what projects I'm working on, what characters I need to be gearing towards. And first among those is going to equate to this column here, which are these Mandalorian characters. And we did indicate in the last video that we are going to go aggressively after Mand'alor Bo, which is why we see 3 of the characters here are Mandalor Bo requirements, with Paz Vizsla, Beskar Armor, Mando, and Grogu. I also have in the spreadsheet Keller and Beck's relic levels, because those are standardized, but not the gear, because he hasn't been added to the game yet, and I have no idea what gear he's going to need. There's also here Maul to Relic 7. He's already Relic 6, but I want to get Maul stronger, and Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, because in a couple weeks, about a month, we are going to have Dark Trooper Moff Gideon added to the game, and I want to be preparing for his gear spend when I do unlock him. This next column here, I'm not going to show the character specifically. It's just JML, Leia, and Lord Vader, but Lord Vader kind of skews some of this because I'm not going to unlock him anytime soon. I'm going to go after him, but a lot of these characters in these columns are actually going to be geared up prior to us obtaining Lord Vader. I just want to earmark some of that gear. Technically, I could throw it in a different column, but I just want my GLs grouped together. What is more relevant is this next column that are just relics that I want to have, that I need to have to really strengthen the quality of my roster. And these are the major characters I'm planning out my gear spend. What you can see are a number of just high quality characters that I want to add relic levels to. Most of these characters are already at relics. Sir Junda for territory battles, Iden because she is related to the raid, also Moff Gideon for the raid, but also because Iden is a high quality pilot, and Moff Gideon will help me complete a full relic stormtrooper squad, which I technically have 5 relic stormtroopers, but I'm missing a critical one in Moff Gideon, which means certain datacrons I'm not able to take advantage of. But not all of that I can accumulate or place on today. That's why these are things I'm strategizing out for the next several months, as I'm going to be hoarding all this gear while I try to collect the signal data. Because really, we're going to have these relic materials, we're going to have all of the Gear 12 Plus materials all completed probably relatively soon. The Kairos are going to take longer, but really it's going to be about the signal data, and then we're going to be moving towards different levels of hoarding, and you're going to be able to see how some of that happens to this roster over the next couple weeks as we track some of these roster changes. And that brings us back to Leia, where we have just a finisher left to put on. We will throw this here. She has an easy relic finisher with Cairo prods. This we actually have plenty of, is the Cairo computers that I don't. Most of the other pieces here are going to help make her tanky because we have a lot of health pieces. We'll take her up to Relics, and because our main concern here is Datacrons, that means we're going to take her up. Like, we could technically stop at Relic 3, maybe even we will, because all that we really care about is that Drogon Datacron. I don't think I have the Leia one yet. Maybe I do have the Leia one. And with the Leia one, we could go to Relic 5 to make sure I retain some flexibility, but I don't think we really care to do that. I'm probably just going to stick with the Drogon one. That's the superior Datacron. Yeah, I think we'll stop. We will be taking her up to Relic 5. No, let's just keep going. We're going to go to Relic 5 for now. We will take her up to Relic 7 next time the Ultimate Journey event returns. But that's good enough for now. It allows us to retain some signal data and some of these other materials for us to shift into different directions. The other thing we're going to do is drop on this Zeta. I don't want to get too low on these materials. This one is delayable, but I'm happy to put it on right now. And mods, we're not going to do it in this video, or maybe not right now. Now for the major project that we are working towards now is we are actively going after Mand'alor Bo. You can see Mando is at Relic 5. He needs to have additional relic levels, but really what's more important is Grogu, and one of the things I'm being careful on is the Cairo computer. We are very depleted on this piece right now, but we can take him up to Gear 11, which is our staging ground where we do the majority of our testing. That's something that we can do while we work on the farming of the character. Now we're going to drop on the Omegas. Those will all be solid, and then here we have one Zeta, and which leaves us two more Zetas for what comes in the future, which is clearly not sufficient. It does mean Kelleran Beck, hopefully he's a 1 Zeta character. That would make things a little bit easier, but it also means Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, I gotta get 3 Zetas for, because I think all the Conquest characters have been 3 Zeta characters. Well, we already have his kit, we can double check, but we're not gonna check right now. I think he's a 3 Zeta character. One of the things I do want to note, and I've been talking about this in some other videos, is you can see here the Mark 7 Nubian scanner. This piece is relatively in demand as you build up your roster, but because I have gone on that years-long mission before the crate raid existed, before a lot of other things that have made gearing easier, I've been bringing up my roster to Gear 11. But one of the side benefits of that is I'm basically done with gear pieces. I've alluded to this a number of times, but this is what it looks like. This gear piece here is a non-concern. What that means, though, is my Mark 1 tokens don't have to go towards pieces like this. I can essentially ignore a whole number of gear pieces, and it allows me to much more easily focus my Mark 1 tokens onto things I actively need. But I'm also reaching a point with Mark 1 tokens, or in gear overall, where I've finished off enough gear pieces, like here's another one, the Mark 6 Thermal, where some of the lower quality purchases, lower value purchases, like the Mark 6 droid collar here, and we'll see if the other one being the Mark 4 back to gel, those are pieces where even though the value isn't there to use on your Mark 1 tokens, it's getting to a point in my gearing where it just might make the most sense for me to do it because I don't have other things to spend it on, which is why I encourage you guys to build up your rosters quickly so that you can really have a better feel and understanding of what pieces you need or don't need, which ones you have smaller deficits in versus significant ones. I just want to show some of that long-term prep work that I've been doing with the account, just looking ahead to what I'm going to need to place gear on and why putting that Gear 11 staging ground has allowed me the flexibility of things like with these unit requirements. Because I had already brought everything to Gear 11, it made it that much easier to shift a lot of those characters over to Gear 12. So I think even right now, maybe we'll take this as a moment to drop some of these pieces. I mean, I kind of held off because the Mark IV is a piece that is a bit more of a pain, but we just talked about why I'm not too concerned about it. And even for right now, everything that I'm working on, I have basically a 200 back to gel surplus. I just don't think we're going to use these characters. I think we're going to leave it off. There's other characters that we can bring up to Gear 12 that it would be more valuable. Because if we do take a look at that, these characters who we could bring up a little bit higher. I'm holding off on the Jedi right now because if Keller and Beck does turn out to boost some of these lower quality Jedi characters, then that's a situation where maybe I want to try some of these characters out at gear 11 with Keller and before I take them up to gear 12. I'm not touching Night Sisters. So I think what I will do is some of these characters like Kira that I do use on occasion, I'll take characters like this up to gear 12. And we can do that. Probably we'll do that with young Han as well. He, I believe, just needs a back to gel. Yeah, he just needs a back to gel to get to that level. We can technically spend 2 more back to gels and not be in a problematic situation. See if any of these other characters are tempting to me. And I don't know that they are. Yeah, we might stop there, although Bodhi's a little tempting. We'll drop this piece on, but I'm not taking him higher for now. The only other thing I might want to address, well, here at Imperial Pro Droid, let's talk about this for a moment. I haven't brought him up higher, partly because, I mean, I guess I could use Jedi Guardian. But this piece here is a piece that I tend to request for donations fairly frequently. Because this piece is just as expensive as the Mark IV back to gels or the droid collars if you're buying them with the Mark I tokens. You can get them with Shard Shop currency. They don't show up all that frequently, but one of the things that is nice is not too many characters need this piece. So it is something that you are going to definitely have your guildmates, they're going to have plenty, and they're going to be able to give you some. And it's not really going to hurt them in any meaningful way because they also don't need too many of them. I'm just trying to finish off this piece once and for all, which is why I'm currently spending it. I'll give a brief update on ships. Leviathan, like this event is going on today. I am refreshing it twice. So I'm getting 30 shards each time it shows up, which means I'll be done with it in January. I don't find a need to rush the final star too much. I'm doing a few more refreshes than I usually do. Usually I only do 1 refresh. I'm doing an extra one. And Marauder, I'm at 69 shards. And then sometime in December, this thing should become farmable and I'll finish it quickly. Kind of wish I would have just spent the extra 200 crystals a day to finish it off. But it's been perfectly usable at 6 stars. It's even good at 5 stars. And we're going to wrap it up there, but it does appear to be that I'm getting into a situation where I might need to start being a little bit more judicious with my Zeta spent. Next time, I think we're probably going to be back for Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, Keller and Beck, hopefully, and then making some larger moves towards the roster, adding some little relic strength. We're going to spend a little bit of time, the holidays, just working on other things. But we're going to get caught up on those Grand Arena videos, so look out for those. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there. We don't say that anymore. Be excellent to each other, everybody. Still plays Galaxy of Heroes.